Hello to you, it's me Bella, and today we are reading Mushroom Rain, and this book is by Laura K. Zimmerman and is illustrated by Jamie Green. And today we're going to learn about mushrooms. We have a little mouse here and a snail, and it looks like some morning glories maybe, and a beautiful lunar moth. And it says, delicate umbrellas open. So let's find out about mushrooms. And inside we have a lot of really cool mushroom art that looks like it was taken from the ground up, so the mushrooms look really big. Look how cool this one is. Mushroom Rain. Without warning, they appear. Mushrooms! Have you ever walked outside and suddenly there's mushrooms growing and they weren't there yesterday? It's pretty amazing. Delicate umbrellas open. Red octopus arms rise from the ground. Cupped nests with eggs appear. In darkness, a spooky green glows under a starlit sky. Different kinds of things growing. And the ones that glow are they charged with the sunlight? I think, is that phosphorescent? It's pretty cool. Bizarre blooms with strange scents. Some like bubblegum, coconut, maple syrup. Others like the stench of burnt hair, rotting cabbage, or animals long dead. So they can smell nice or really gross. Look at all the different types of mushrooms. I don't even know if we could count them right now. So many. Many are tattered and torn by hungry visitors, chomping, scraping, gnawing, and burrowing. Chomping, scraping, gnawing, and burrowing. They're eating the mushrooms. Some mushrooms are harvested and stored. Red squirrels dry them in branches. Ants pile foraged pieces on their nests, while mushroom hunters, baskets in hand, stalk silent prey. So red squirrels store the mushrooms in the trees, and the ants take the mushroom pieces, and people collect mushrooms. There's more ants at the bottom, see? Do you like mushrooms? I like some mushrooms. I don't like all mushrooms. Then, without warning, mushrooms disappear. No longer seen, but not gone. The bluebells. Far beneath the mushroom's bloom, a hidden form reaches out, sheltered and secretly wandering. See their roots. The roots are growing in the earth, or if they're in a dead tree. The largest has sprouted under a forest for thousands of years. Has sprawled under the forest for thousands of years. It stretches for miles, still wandering, and continues to grow. So underneath the ground, the mushroom's root system keeps growing. Blooms cast new mushrooms even further when scattered spores, like flower seeds, settle on the forest floor. So the mushroom releases tiny little spores that go out with the wind. And then when they land, they can grow new mushrooms. Like a dandelion when you make a wish, but spores instead of seeds. Tiny threads too small to see branch out, growing bigger. They pack together and rise. There's a worm. See the spore, and it gets roots. And then it grows. But not all spores land in the forest. Some, caught by the wind, soar into the sky, seeding clouds. They help create rain. So the water droplets in the clouds form around particles, and the particles could be mushroom spores. And the particles are what make raindrops. Droplets fall, strange blooms spring up. After a mushroom rain. Look at all those mushrooms. So there's fungus. It's a different type of mushroom. And then here we have some information about mushrooms. So let me go ahead and tell you about it. It says, more to know about mushrooms. Mushroom rain is a translation of a Russian phrase that means a light rain while the sun is shining. It's thought to be good growing weather for mushrooms. That's usually also when we find a rainbow. Mushrooms come in a rainbow of colors and shapes with smells from delightful to disgusting. They can be rough and ragged, smooth, felted, waxy, slimy, or even melty ooze. With their blooms above and threads spreading below, so the threads are like the roots, you might think mushroom producing fungi are a kind of plant, but they aren't. In fact, they are more closely related to animals like you. Unlike plants, fungi can make their own food through photosynthesis. They can't because plants use photosynthesis. They can't make their own food through photosynthesis. They have to find food like animals. But unlike animals, fungi digest outside of their body instead of within, so they are different from animals too. So they're not exactly plants and they're not exactly animals. Gills. The papery ribs that hang down from a mushroom's cap, gills, create and release spores of mushrooms, but only for those that have gills. Mushroom caps without gills have tiny holes or small ice-like spikes. So the gills are the part under here, the little lines in the mushroom. Spores create new mushrooms producing fungi, much like seeds do for plants. Fruiting body. The body of a mushroom produces fungi as well. The body part of the mushroom producing fungi we usually see, the mushroom or bloom, is produce spores and comes in different shapes. Many but not all have a cap and a stalk. When mushrooms appear, it's called fruiting. So the whole body of the mushroom is this part. This would be the cap and the stalk. And then germination. Germination occurs when the spores of a mushroom or the seed of a plant begin to grow. So that's when it sprouts, like when a seed sprouts, it's germinating. Oh, and then we're gonna go down below the surface. Mycelium, a web-like collection of hyphae. It is hidden under the mushroom that we see. So that's this part. And then the hyphae, called hyphae, tiny hair-like tubes that form the mycelium. They are how a mushroom eats. The hyphae of decomposed mushrooms use enzymes to break down or decompose dead and decaying matter to get the nutrients they need, much like your stomach does with the food that you eat. So they eat through their root-like structure, and they eat decaying leaves and things like that. That's why you often find them on dead trees. Out of sight. When a spore begins to grow, it sends out tiny hyphae. They are so tiny, you need a microscope to see them. The hyphae branch out to form a network called a mycelium for mushrooms that grows on the ground. The mycelium spread under the soil. When conditions are right, portions of the mycelium pack together, creating mushrooms that rise up as the bizarre blooms we see. So they send out their tendrils, and then when they want to, they bring the tendrils together, and then that makes the mushroom. It's pretty cool. Where do mushrooms live? Many mushroom spores germinate on the forest floor, but not all do. Some germinate in other places, like beneath the bark of a tree or fallen branch and stumps, or on dung or poo. Others grow outside of the forest in lawns, meadows, mountains, salt marshes, and even on sand dunes. So we have some examples of where they grow. One's growing on a tree. Humongous fungus, the biggest mushroom-producing fungus in the world, grows in the Blue Mountains of eastern Oregon. It is the largest known living organism on Earth. Its mushrooms, or fruiting bodies, and mycelium combined are thought to weigh more than 50 blue whales. Scientists guess it's thousands of years old. So this is one big connected mycelium. Over 50? Did it say 50? 50 blue whales. That's really big. Who likes to eat mushrooms? Many animals eat mushrooms. Some chomp, nibble, or gnaw with large or small bites. Land snails and slugs scrape the mushroom using thousands of tiny teeth. So like scrape, like if you were to scrape an apple with your teeth. Larvae are worm-like younger versions of the insects. Larvae that feed on mushrooms burrow into them, creating tunnels as they munch and move through the mushroom. Mushroom harvesting ants are a kind of ant that brings pieces of mushrooms back to their nest. There they put them in a pile until they turn into mush. Mushy mushrooms are the main thing these ants eat. Red squirrels gather mushrooms and hang them in trees or place them on logs and stumps to dry before they store them so that they can eat them later. Human mushroom hunters love finding tasty mushrooms, but they have to be careful because some mushrooms are good to eat, but others are poisonous. So never pick or eat a wild mushroom unless an expert is with you and says it's safe. So we don't gather our own mushrooms. We want to ask the experts. And here we have a little bit more information. Seeding the clouds. Millions of tons of mushroom spores soar to the sky each year. Like plants, clouds grow from seeds. But unlike plants, seeds which grow from life inside, cloud seeds collect water on the outside. So there's a little dot, and then the water forms around the little dot, or the little speck or spore. Mushroom spores are one kind of cloud seed. In the atmosphere, water vapor clings to spores, creating small droplets of water or ice. A cloud is made up of billions and trillions of droplets made from spores and other small cloud seed particles, like dust. Within the cloud, they clump together, making bigger and bigger droplets. Once the droplets are heavy enough, they fall as rain, soaking the forest so new mushrooms can grow. And if you ever notice the dark rain clouds, I think that's because they have more dust particles, and so it's more ready to rain. Fun with mushrooms. Make a spore print. To make a spore print of mushrooms with gills, you first need a mushroom. Get the freshest you can and find a store or farmer's market. Never pick one from outdoors unless a mushroom expert tells you it is safe, because some wild mushrooms will make you very sick. Cut off the stem so you can see the gills. Turn the mushroom over so that the gills are facing down and put it in a light colored piece of paper. Put a drop of water on top to help the spores come out. Cover with a cup and leave it someplace safe overnight. Carefully lift the mushroom and see what the spores have left behind. So you put a drop of water on a paper and then you cover it with a cup, and it will release the spores and make an image on your paper. That's pretty crazy. I'll have to try that one. Notice and wonder. Study the picture in the book. What kinds of animals, plants, and mushrooms do you see? How are the mushrooms different, and how are they the same? Go on a walk and notice the mushrooms around you. What colors, shapes, and sizes do you see? Does it look like animals have been there? Imagine tiny threads spreading beneath the mushrooms. How far do you think they go? If you don't see any mushrooms, why do you think that is? Do some research and see what you find. Start with these questions and see where they lead you. What do mushroom producing fungi need to survive? Do you know that they help trees communicate? How do they do this? What else do you want to know about mushrooms? I think they help trees communicate because it's like the internet, how they can connect with each other under the ground through their network, through the mycelium, and then the trees can also connect to that. It's pretty cool. Want to learn more about mushrooms? Further reading suggestions. So we have some further reading suggestions here. And there's a really beautiful show on Netflix, and it's the end, that has beautiful videos of mushrooms growing if you like to learn more about mushrooms. So that is our mushroom rain book. Did you know that mushrooms help make it rain? Isn't that so cool? So whether you like to eat mushrooms or you can just appreciate that they're really neat, it's nice to know a little bit more about mushrooms. So thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day or a really good sleep. And I look forward to reading with you again next time. Bye for now.